11 years and 2 facelifts later, it's time to say goodbye to this car. Yes, the second generation of the Audi Q7 has been on sale for quite some time now. And the third generation model is all set to hit Indian shores next year. Which means this SUV is still going to be on sale for at least a year. And after having driven it for a few months, I'm going to tell you 4 pros and 4 cons of the Audi Q7. Starting with the cons, the first one is a lack of a diesel engine. It's been more than 6 years since Audi stopped selling diesel cars in India, and it is hurting their sales big time because rivals continue to offer diesel. Let's take the Q7's immediate rivals for example. The BMW X5 comes with a 3-litre 6-cylinder diesel engine, and the Mercedes GLE comes with a 2-litre 4-cylinder and a 3-litre 6-cylinder diesel engine. Diesel engines have become super refined these days and offer great efficiency and tank range. Something that the Q7 misses out on because this sole petrol engine isn't efficient, returning 5 to 7 km per litre. The second con is the lack of features for a car that costs Rs 1.16 crores on road Mumbai. The Q7 doesn't get ventilated seats, a feature cars 1/10 its price offer. Heck, the cheapest car in the whole VW group, the Skoda Kayak, also comes with ventilated seats. There is no wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity, while Auto Park is surprisingly deactivated for India. The car has the hardware, probably the software too, but it just won't work here, a feature that works in the cheaper Skoda Kodiaq. There is no spare wheel either, just a puncture repair kit. The third con is the lack of physical buttons. Audi did 3 screens much before anyone else. Okay, the third screen is in the center console itself and not in front of the passenger. But there's just too much reliance on screens here with very few physical buttons, and the buttons here are touch sensitive ones and just don't work that well. Thankfully, the steering mounted controls are proper buttons. Some of the functions are deep inside the menu. For instance, I want to change the display of the cluster. I have to dive deep into the touchscreen to do that. While in rival German cars, all you need to do is press a button on the steering wheel and voila, it's done. Even for the ambient light, there are multiple menus and sub-menus you need to go through. Unnecessarily complex. Also, there is no space to keep your phone in the center console. The only option is to put it on the wireless charger below the front center armrest. By the way, the Q7's fuel lid doesn't say it's E20 compliant. Oops. The fourth con is the third row. Wait, isn't this the only 7-seater SUV in the segment? Well, it's more like a 5+2 because the last row is just useless. Getting into the third row requires you to tumble this seat, which is a manual and a 2-step operation. First fold this seat and then pull this lever to lift the seat. Then you have a small area to get through into the third row, which doesn't have any space for adults as footroom is poor, legroom is non-existent, knee room is limited, under-thigh support is horrible, headroom is not adequate enough, and there are no AC vents here either. The third row though is electrically adjustable with buttons in the boot as well as behind the second row seats. But you have to keep the buttons pressed to move the seat. It's not a one-touch operation. But even with the third row up, there's a good amount of boot space and the tailgate has a manual sunblind too. However, there is no dedicated space for the parcel shelf and it keeps moving about in the boot. Heard that? Usually it's under the boot floor like in the Skoda Kodiaq, but here that space is occupied by a subwoofer. But in spite of the Q7's age, there are still some very good things about this car, with the first pro being the engine, which is a 3-litre turbo V6 engine which is extremely smooth and refined. Performance is actually very impressive because 0 to 100 km per hour takes 5.6 seconds. Actually, it's doing it in 6.2 seconds right now because I think tire pressures are not right. You can see the tire pressure warning coming here. ESC is off right now. Maybe with ESC on it could do better, but the reason why it has the tire pressure monitoring warning is because I've had multiple punctures. Tires are wide now, which means there's more chances of a puncture because more contact patch on the road. I know that's a stupid logic. The problem is, even though this road is super smooth, most of our roads are not smooth, and one small nail can hurt the tire pressure or the tires big time, and that's the problem which I'm facing right now. Punctures. Anyways, performance here is super duper awesome. In spite of the weight, this car sprints very fast. Yeah, there is good amount of grunt throughout the rev range thanks to the 48 volt mild hybrid system, which gives that instant boost as well. That's the reason why turbo lag is very well contained. The engine is fast revving, it's smooth and refined, you can't hear a thing lower down, but as you rev it and as you push it hard and fast, it becomes better and sportier in terms of the way it sounds. That's the reason I'm going to launch it by shutting my freaking mouth. Let me tell you that this 8-speed automatic gearbox is super quick with shifts. You've got manual control using the paddles, but it does not hold on to a gear. It will upshift at around 6,500 RPM. So here, let's time it again. Left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator. Where is the traction control? We put it on sport. Rev still 2,600 RPM and off we go. That's 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 6.16 seconds. Not bad at all. Top speed 250 kilometers per hour, which is quite impressive as well. This is a fast car, but it's a petrol car, so obviously it will drink a lot of fuel. A diesel would be a lot better because of the better torque and obviously a higher tank range as well. But in terms of performance, I love this engine. It's so nice and smooth, refined and sporty as well in the way it sounds. And the gearbox impresses you, doesn't hesitate to give you a shift whenever you want one. Okay, there are 7 drive modes here. There's an individual which lets you configure the steering, the suspension, the engine as well, because this particular car obviously has got adaptive dampers, it's got air suspension as well, there's comfort, there's efficiency, there's all-road, there's off-road, which lets you raise the ride height to the maximum. And then you can take the car off-road as well, giving it ample amount of ground clearance too. So yeah, plenty of modes here in terms of drive modes. 7 of them, which is a lot. You usually don't get 7 drive modes in most cars, but this one has 7, which is amazing. The second pro is the attention to detail. Like, there are 2 different buttons for the sunroof. One for opening and closing the blind and the other for opening and closing the glass. The rear camera has a cleaning function, which is very useful in the monsoons. There's in-car ionizer and perfume. The 360-degree parking camera has a good resolution and the 19-speaker audio system sounds great. When you turn on the car, the red line is capped to 4,100 RPM as the engine warms up. The red line increases to 5,500 RPM and once it's completely warm, the red line increases to 6,500 RPM. Crazy attention to detail. The Q7 has features which very few cars offer these days, like headlight washers and ashtrays at the rear. The third pro is the space. It has an excellent second row thanks to the 3-meter long wheelbase. The second row seats can be slid forward or back and there's good amount of foot room, knee room, leg room, head room, and while under thigh support isn't the best, the seat reclines by quite a bit. You get manual sunblinds, a 4-zone climate control air conditioning system and a massive panoramic sunroof that makes the cabin feel very airy. The fourth pro is the driving feel. More so if you raise the air suspension to the maximum, which you can do in off-road mode and then power through potholes. You get a nice and commanding driving position. Of course, this is no Defender, but in terms of braking performance, it works well to stop all that mass. I don't know why all that sound is coming from the front axle. That said, this is an Audi, which means it will obviously understeer, which is the problem with almost all the Audis. You push it hard and then you can hear the engine actually being very vocal. Ride is very nice, however, better on dynamic mode. Okay, understeer. Why the ride is better on dynamic mode? Well, simply because otherwise it's too floaty. So here you see, I was talking about the understeer. There is a lot of it near the limit. Now, the ride is actually on the softer side. In comfort mode, it floats along on wavy roads. So it's better to put it in dynamic mode where the suspension stiffens up a bit. However, on bad roads now, comfort mode is ideal because it manages to absorb almost everything in its stride absolutely effortlessly. So yes, ride is good, but there's some amount of body roll expectedly considering the height of this car. And overall driving feel is that of ease. Yeah, you can just drive it with one hand probably and one hand on the gear lever. Not that you need to do that because it is such an effortless car to drive. And the lane keep assist here is a bit too aggressive. So yeah, it will push you into a lane very fast. It didn't read this lane, but yeah, it pushes it. So it's better to turn it off. I definitely feel that this is actually quite a nice and neutral car to drive. Of course, it's not as dynamic as a BMW or not as comfort oriented as a Mercedes. Well, that's actually a myth because the GLE, the competitor of this car, is not as comfort oriented. So I think this is the most comfort oriented car in the segment, which works well because most people are going to be chauffeur driven here, obviously, because that's the audience for this car. The Audi Q7 is a very underrated car. It's old and that's why it has a different charm. I still find the cluster and its fonts, the steering and its buttons, the exterior design and the interior layout to be better than the new generation Audis. And on that polarizing opinion, it's time to end. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. That's a like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Bye-bye.